What's going on, guys, and welcome back. Chicago is just a few more days away. Everyone is finalizing their decks, getting ready to take down those Sisu on Ices and those Bucky discard decks. Don't sleep on Sapphire Steel Wheel either, but we also have a link down below to our Patreon information. This month's giveaway is our Enchanted Rare Tinkerbell. So without further ado, today we're going to talk about some cards that have a pretty good chance of making a big impact in Chicago. I'm not going to say things like Bucky, like Diablo, heck, even the Aladdin Floodborn because his ability to take down item decks. We're not going to point out cards like these, Sisu's, even Brawl is not going to make this list because Brawl truly is a staple in every Ruby deck. You may say some of these cards are staples. It may be up for debate, but these are 7 kinda cards that don't sleep on them. And if you're playing these colors, think about these cards. So first and foremost, our honorable mention is going to be the 4-cost Ursula, Eric's Bride out of the Amber ink color. She's a 2/4. Shift, you discard a song to play her, so you can play, if you're playing Steel Song, you can play I believe it's a 2-cost 4-singer Ursula, and then you can always shift this Ursula on turn 3, quest with her, and when you quest, your opponent reveals their hand and discards a non-character of your choice. This can be very good versus item decks, especially because if you're on the play, that means you get to turn 3 first, you shift her onto your other Ursula, and you can hit something like a Fishbone Quill out of their hand before they can even use it. Not only does she quest for 2, have 4 willpower, every time she quests, you get to keep ripping cards from your opponent's hands, assuming they don't have only character cards. So if you're playing an Amber deck, like Steel Song, like Mufasa Roulette, consider playing Ursula, Eric's Bride. The next card that we're going to go ahead and talk about is going to be actually a twofer. This one is going to be between Peter Pan Shadowfinder, we just got in Ursula's Return, 3-cost, 2/3. This character has Rush and Evasive. Your other characters with Evasive gain Rush. It's a 3-cost, so this means it's a quick answer to something like a Diablo, where it can hit the board, get rid of that Diablo on that turn because of the Rush and the Evasive. It has 3 willpower, so it's going to survive that attack as well, and then it also can quest for 1 in the process. This can be very good if, say, they shift their Bucky. It's not super common to get a Bucky shift, but if they do, that means turn 2 that they quest with it, you come back with this on turn 3, you take care of it very easily. In addition to that, we also have the card that's been out for a couple sets, Peter Pan's Shadow, Not Sewn On. This time it's a 4-cost instead of a 3. So far, all 3 of these cards are uninkable too. Fun fact, really good cards tend to be uninkable. Not all the time. Maui's pretty good. Goat's pretty good. A handful of other inkable cards are also very good. But just like Peter Pan, this is a 2/3. So again, it has Evasive and Rush. However, instead of giving your Evasive characters Rush, this gives your Rush characters Evasive. If you're playing a Amethyst color, maybe you want to consider one of these 2 options. This card can quest for 2 as opposed to just the 1, and it can give something like your Mim Fox Evasive to deal with those characters of your opponents. The one thing, like I said, is the shift Bucky play. So if they have a Bucky live turn 2, this card is going to miss it by an entire turn, whereas Peter Pan can deal with it immediately. They'll just get your 1 draw for turn. You ink a card, you play Pan, you take out the Diablo. Again, this is 1 more ink, so it is going to take 1 more card. It's kind of a horse apiece. They're very, very similar cards. Most of what you're going to do, it's going to come down to whatever you want to do. Do you want the extra lore? Do you want the 1 turn sooner, 1 cost less? I think that they're both very good cards. I think that if you're playing Amethyst, you should be playing 2 of 1 of them. So that brings us to our number 4 card that you want to remember exists if you're playing against it or if you're playing it. And that's going to be the 2-cost Flynn Rider out of the Ruby. It's another new card out of Ursula's Return, and most of you should be familiar. If you're not, it's a 2/2 quest for 1. But as long as you have the character with the highest strength value at the beginning of your turn, you get 3 lore. And guess what? Ruby's kind of known for big characters. So, naturally, this card can be very good in your Ruby and apply a lot of pressure to your opponent, especially because you don't even have to quest or do anything with it. You can just leave it readied. And now say when your Maui comes down to take out their cards, it has 6 attack, and if they don't crash things into Maui and lose their board, you're going to get 3 lore every turn just for having that Maui on board. They do also stack, so if you have 2 Flynns, that is 6 lore for a Maui. If you have 3, that's 9. You do the math. So bringing us on to number 3. I was debating which card I wanted to put. These aren't necessarily in order either. I guess number them. Honorable mention 1, 2, 3. Like I said, top 5, although there's actually 7 cards. So Floodborns are kind of a big deal, right? The mirror matches are going to be interesting. They're going to be plentiful. Looking for a better word for it. And this card can help you deal with that. Chief Bogo, Respected Officer, is a 4-cost uninkable card. He's a 2/4. He's not a Floodborn, so he doesn't fit that part of the Bucky deck. But whenever you do play a Floodborn, you deal 1 damage to each opposing character. Very important here because it can do, enough damage to take out those Buckies that your opponent has. If you're able to play multiple Floodborns or over the course of 2 turns, those 2 damage will start to take out things like Diablos, and it will just continue to pile up. Or if you get a couple of these out, heaven forbid. Or I've seen people even go Diablo deals 1 to everything, and then shift a Diablo on top of that Diablo just to make your opponent lose 2 damage across their board. And in that matchup, that's very, very strong. And usually they'd have a Bucky. So in the process, you're also making your opponent discard 2. You take out their Bucky. You take out their Diablo. And as if it couldn't get a little bit better, he quests for 2. So the 4 willpower and the questing for 2 makes Chief Bogo an even better option who helps out immensely in the mirror match. I wouldn't play 4, but I think 2 Chief Bogo is a pretty solid option. We have 2 cards left. This next card doesn't really apply to Bucky discard decks because, well, let's be honest, you have Ursula double singing Let the Storm Rage on, Strength of the Raging Fire. You have other characters who can sing Grab Your Swords. However, if you're playing an Emerald deck, Under the Sea is very, very strong. The Lemon Lime deck might just play this card the best because you can say turn 1, play your card turn 2. Turn 1 would be like Kita. Turn 2, play something. Turn 3, you can even go aerial to search this. Well, not search it out, but check the top 4 cards of your deck. And if you hit it, you can add this card. And then you shift Kita -3 to everything on your opponent's board. So as long as they have 5 or lower attack, they go to 2. And then you can sing Under the Sea and put all their characters back into the bottom of their deck. It's essentially a big board wipe. It is pseudo searchable, like I said, not really searching, but it's diggable. You can dig for it, and it combos off with Kita very, very good. You don't need Kita to make this card good, though. It is just naturally good in the Bucky matchup, which, lo and behold, is the best deck of this format. So, again, if you're playing Emerald, other than Bucky discard, Under the Sea is a card that maybe you want to consider. Would I be surprised if a Bucky discard deck is playing this card and does really well? Absolutely not. I'm just saying that Steel has other options, so if you're playing Bucky discard, maybe you don't play it. We have one more card to talk about. This card is very interesting. Shout out to Dave. Second video, we get to do that in a row. But he was playing it at locals in his deck. Not going to throw his name out there just in case anyone recognizes, hey, I'm playing a Dave. But no, so he was playing this in our case tournament, and it did really, really well. He completely swung tempo back in the tempo matchup. His opponent had a couple merfolks down, had a Queen's Castle down, and was about to win the game. If you don't know what card we're talking about yet, it is the 4-cost Steel action. Avalanche. Deal 1 damage to each opposing character, and you may banish a chosen location. Not many matchups are you going to be able to do something like that where you clear multiple threats and take out a location. However, this does act as location removal, but more importantly, it's played as a turn 4 option to deal with Bucky to preserve your hand. Is this something that every Steel deck is going to be able to play? No, it's not. Is it something every Steel deck should play? Again, no, I don't think so. Something like Steel Song has access to a much earlier, or just singing Grab Your Swords, which can deal with more than just the Avalanche. This is just a turn 4 option for Steel decks that want to get rid of that Bucky a turn sooner than something like a Grab Your Swords would allow. So again, this is our top 5 list of 7 cards that have a very good chance to dictate what happens in Chicago. There's going to be better cards. There's going to be more cards played. However, I expect to see all 7 of these cards in top cut decks. As to what degree, we'll find out. After this weekend, I will get the meta spreadsheet all up to date and get that link back into our videos, where we will have deck cores for all the decks that are doing well, most common played cards. We will have decks, how much they're topping big events, little events, total events, how many they're winning. I believe the link for the last spreadsheet is still down there if you want to check it on out. And by all means, give me suggestions and I will do everything I can to improve that spreadsheet. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck in Chicago and take care.